Welcome to the What is Life Dude podcast. We're your hosts, Eric and Sarah. I'm a freelance musician.
And I'm a vegan chef and food blogger. This is where we share our thoughts about building a healthy relationship, working as creatives on our own terms, and living with intention and authenticity.
We don't have it all figured out yet, but every conversation gets us a little closer to answering the question, what is life, dude? Hello, and welcome back to the What is Life Dude podcast, everybody. We are Eric and Sarah.
Welcome back. I honestly feel like I have the more challenging role here because you say hello and you introduce us, and then I have to get us into the episode, and I don't always know how.
Maybe we should think of like some way to extend the intro so you have a line that you say every week. Right? It really is easy. I never thought about it that way. I just get to say the thing I say every time. Yeah. And then you're always like, oh, hey, what do I do now?
We're here.
Okay, we can fix that. We'll work on that.
Okay,
so today we are going to be talking... Sorry if my exhale into the microphone was just really loud. I usually try not to do that. This week we're going to be talking about our relationship with social media. We're not sure how long of an ep this is going to be.
We never are.
Yeah.
Let's not make any promises.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what this conversation is going to look like. We have some notes, and it's just something we got on about a few days ago. We were talking about. So we decided to do it as this week's episode.
Right.
The background is still bare, but we are still in California. Our moving plans got pushed back a week.
Another snafu.
A snafu. Well, you remember when we moved the first time from Colorado, we had a whole episode. It's called like Our Moving Mishap or something.
Right.
Yes. So another snag, so we're pushed back one whole week.
Yeah.
So
this one's not as grave. It's just a bit of a delay.
It's just a bit of a pain in the butt. I mean, we were saying yesterday, we're like, oh, we have 1 week left here. Yeah. And it felt like this inevitable, close, exciting thing. And then it was 2 weeks away once we had our snafu. And I got really anxious yesterday.
Right.
I just felt like all of a sudden there was so much time between now and when we were leaving.
2 weeks is a long time.
2 weeks is a lot longer than a week.
Especially given that we've packed up so much of our stuff. So, you're going to see us re-wearing some clothes probably in the next few episodes that we film here.
Yeah, I have like 5 shirts that aren't packed, and I'm just doing laundry more often than usual.
Yeah.
So
I do have to say I'm very pleased with how moving and packing has gone so far. Much smoother than last time around. Again, because we got rid of so much stuff, so we don't have to deal with all those logistics. And we just gave ourselves so much time. And now we have an extra week. So I feel like it's even the way I've organized stuff as I've been packing it is going to make it so much easier to unpack it.
Yeah, we did a lot of throwing stuff into bigger stuff and throwing it into our moving pod last time. Right. But Sarah, so every week we get a box of produce from this place called Imperfect Foods, this website. And Sarah's just been keeping these boxes every week. So we have like these medium-sized boxes. We just have so many of them. Right. And there's just like a stack of full boxes now instead of like...
We didn't have to go to Home Depot and buy 50 boxes.
Yeah.
I actually have no clue how many boxes we had to buy last time, but it was a lot.
Well, we kept going back to Home Depot, and now we just like went once, and it was easy. Yep. But yeah, everything's a lot smoother this time, and it's just so much better.
Yeah.
So we had a little snag in the plans, and we're going on through.
Yeah. I think the anxiety-provoking part is that when you know that you have a move very close on the horizon, or it's not just a move, like sometimes if you have like a trip coming up or some other kind of milestone where you're going to be leaving your home, you kind of like give yourself permission to not be super productive or to not eat super healthy. Like I remember last time, or even when we moved here for the first like week, we got a lot of takeout because we were like, okay, we're waiting for our stuff to get delivered here. And now that time till we move has been extended. So we're like, well, we can't actually just live like, in this in-between phase. We kind of have to, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like we were about to come upon the point in the timeline where like we put a lot of the kitchen stuff away.
Yeah.
So like we'd go between using Sarah's mom's like kitchen stuff, but also just like getting more takeout than we usually do. And now we're like, okay, now we have an extra week.
So we went grocery shopping again because we thought we had already done our last grocery shop, and I went and bought a bunch of vegetables yesterday.
Moving is a hassle.
Yeah, I have to say, I want, let's dive into the positivity box because mine is this ramen that I made yesterday.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a recipe I've made a couple times before, but I made a couple of tweaks this time around. It's from the Just One cookbook blog, which I think specializes in Asian recipes. So if you look up, I think just vegetarian miso ramen, but it has a lot of aromatics in the base, and then you add soy milk, so it's really creamy. And I used tahini also in the base, and it's just so good. I wish I had made like a huge stock pot of it so I could just have a little bit of that broth every single day for lunch.
Yeah, we had it for breakfast, lunch. There's a word for that, brunch. We had it last night for dinner, then this morning again, and it was really, really good. I think it's the best ramen you've ever made.
Yeah, I love it.
My positivity box goes along with the eating leftover ramen this morning, and that is we came downstairs this morning as Sarah's mom and sister were leaving the house to go do something, and we were downstairs like making our coffee, and Sarah's making her matcha, and we were just like, wait. We're alone. I mean, we're not usually alone because a lot of people who don't have to go to work every day don't leave the house. And so that's all of us in this home. So we were kind of like, oh my God, we have like the whole downstairs, right? There's like the living room attached to the kitchen downstairs.
Right, which usually we will go down there to cook dinner or cook whatever, and then we'll come up and eat in our bedroom on the upper floor.
We'll sit on our bed
We're like
in front of the TV.
cloistered in here all the time. And it was just nice to have the space to ourselves. We like actually sat on the couch and watched TV down there.
Which we've watched TV downstairs like once before, and we've been here for 5 months.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was nice not only like in itself, right? Like in the experience itself, it was nice, but it also kind of reminded us like, oh, in 2 weeks we're gonna have our own place again, and we're gonna be able to go from like, oh, we can leave the TV on playing and we can go like do something in the kitchen, and it's not like a huge deal because we don't have to go upstairs to our bedroom and back down.
Yeah.
It's really not great living the dorm life, where we do everything in the same room.
Yeah.
But so it was nice to kind of remind ourselves like, oh, this is what we're in for when we move back to our own place together, and it's going to be so amazing. Yeah.
And I actually posted on Instagram stories asking people if they wanted to share anything about their experiences moving back home after they had already moved out. And I got a lot of people DMing me about how grateful they were for their own space afterwards. So I'm very excited. I think it was a nice little stopping point on our journey. So we can figure out what the heck we want to do next. Yeah, but I'm really ready to be the master of my own space. I mean, when we moved here, we did an episode after a few weeks about our experience so far. So I'm sure once we get back to Colorado, we'll do an episode about what the entire experience was like and what we learned and what we liked and disliked, Right. It's it's been our entire life for 5 months. Right. Yep. So, all right, great. Let's talk about social media a little. Okay. Where do you want to start? So, okay, social media is everywhere. Everyone's on it. It's almost like you can't really even avoid it in some ways because everything is linked to, I don't know, like your Google account. Everyone's on YouTube. Yeah. What social media do you primarily use? So I use Reddit, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay. So Reddit is the thing I use the most on my computer and on my phone. But I like Reddit a lot because, and this is going to be the bulk of the conversation from my perspective, is how I've kind of adjusted my social media use to be like a strictly positive force in my life, because it's a space where there's so much, not even like blatant negativity, just it makes you feel so negative so often. There can be blatant negativity and cyberbullying and all of that. Yeah. Right. But aside from that, sometimes it just makes you feel bad. So I've tried to like mold it into something more positive. And the thing I like about Reddit a lot is that there are like funny cat gifs, but there are also like, I also read a lot about different topics and learn a lot. Right.
Whether it's like things I'm really into, like music production, or things like gardening, where I don't know much about it, but like we want to start doing it more. And I like videos and pictures of beautiful gardens at home. So it's like, I feel like I'm getting the lulls in sometimes, but also that I'm learning a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. I think that's why I'm so addicted to it. But I don't mind being addicted to Reddit for that reason.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's positive for my brain most of the time.
Right.
So those are the 3 things I use. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you?
So I never used to use Reddit until maybe we moved here.
That's true. It really has been recent.
I didn't really know what it was, I have to be honest. And if you're not familiar with what Reddit is, it's basically just like a gigantic forum that has a bunch of sub-forums or subreddits, which are each dedicated to a specific topic.
And these topics range from like super general and like ubiquitous things. Like a huge one is called "We Are the Music Makers," and it's for people who produce music, write music, literally anything music related. Like 2 million people are there. And then there's a subreddit for this anime show that's not huge and not a lot of people watch it, and there are like 2,000 people there.
Right.
Like anything you could think of.
And so you're like you're a spectator on Reddit, but you're also contributing. Whereas I don't typically contribute. I just typically the way I end up on Reddit is that I Google a question and then I put Reddit at the end of the Google search term, and then it comes up. And because I like Reddit because it's real humans answering questions. So anytime I want to know if I'm crazy for feeling something, or I just want some experience about, like, for example, when I was deciding to go on my last antidepressant way back at the beginning of 2020, I was like, Wellbutrin Reddit to read about like real people's experiences on the medication.
Well, here's the thing about social media is that there's a lot of advertising and like shilling, which I only recently started using the word shilling because I've been reading a lot about it in terms of like how people talk about cryptocurrency. But I also Google things and put Reddit at the end because Reddit's search function is really, really bad still.
Right.
And B, because I feel like I get a more, obviously it's not going to be objective because they're just people telling their opinions. It's the opposite. But I feel like I get a broader scope of answers from Reddit. And it's like, sure, there are shills for anything. But like, I don't think there are a lot of, it definitely exists, but I don't think there are a lot of people like working for companies like in marketing, like going on Reddit and answering things to say like, oh, you should definitely not take Wellbutrin, you should take this other one. And they're like a secret marketing agent for this company. But if there's some like blogs and websites where I'm like, I don't know who this one person writing this article is. And I don't know what their interests are. Right. So I like Reddit because I feel like it's very neutral.
Yes, I agree. That's where I go for some research. I think YouTube is also, people use it as a search engine too, but there is a barrier to entry to make content on there where there isn't quite that for being a Reddit, what would you want to use? Contributor.
Poster.
To contribute something on Reddit. You can just be a human anonymously. But to make a video, you have to, most people don't really want to be on camera explaining their experience taking Wellbutrin for 6 months, for example. So you get a lot of variety of information and it feels very honest. So I feel like that's, and it's also, there are ads on Reddit, but they're not all consuming in the way that I find now on Instagram ads are. And also on YouTube, everything is an ad. Even if it's not an ad that Google is serving you before a video, there's an ad in the video by the creator who's getting sponsored.
Yes.
Sometimes the creator's me.
Well, yeah, and that's like another whole interesting aspect about this conversation as a whole, because you do social media as your job.
Yes.
And do you just want to like see where the path takes us?
Sure.
In this conversation. So let's talk about this because, like you said, everything's kind of an ad, and a lot of people talk about building your small business and like how to start your own business and this and that. And a lot of it comes down to being active and present and having a social media presence that is presented in a very specific way.
Right.
Right. And there are a lot of people on social media who are like marketing counselors, right? And that's their whole platform is teaching you how to build a bigger and better platform. And sometimes I'm like, what do you even do? Like, I don't even know what you do except for teach people to...
Me?
No, not you.
Like, I'm like no, like, right.
Yeah, like I'll see someone on Instagram who's like, I'm going to teach you how to build your brand. Yeah. And I'm like, sick. What's your brand? And they're like, my brand is teaching you how to build your brand. Right. And I'm like, okay.
I honestly hate it. Not that there aren't coaches who are actually really, really have a lot to offer and have helped a lot of people. But I have to say a lot of them that I get served ads for, like, don't have much to show for what they're trying to sell. So I try to brush it off and also not judge people because everyone's just trying to
survive,
make a living in this world.
Yeah.
But, I realized that I always feel this deep sense of nostalgia for the year 2017 on social media because it was when my YouTube channel picked up and I had been contributing to it for a while. And I had maybe like at most 1,000 subscribers at the beginning of that year.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually took a screenshot of my login, like my YouTube dashboard, I guess, which I need to dig up. And when I hit 1,000 subscribers, and it's crazy to think about. So 2017, it was like I was still creating from this very just curious kind of space. Like I was still learning a lot how to cook, learning a lot how to be vegan. I didn't have the pressure of... I tried to create consistently because I did want to grow a community, but it wasn't fueled by... money wasn't involved, really. Obviously, like, my goal... Like, I thought it would be so cool if I could make like $100 off of AdSense. Like, that would be sweet if I could just have like an extra $100 or $200 of spending money every month.
Were you at all like in the back of your mind planning to like build it into something where, I'm going to quit my job and do this because I can?
No.
Or was it always like, maybe I could just make a few $100? That
wasn't my long-term goal, but I think that I knew that it was possible because I had used YouTube for so long. YouTube was like my first... Well, there was like MySpace a long time ago, which I wasn't supposed to be on because my family is very conservative, so I made a secret MySpace, and I posted like my music on there. My own music that I made as a child.
Wow.
And then Facebook, I also made like a secret Facebook. And I think one of my friends came over and outed me accidentally in front of my... Because it's weird. Like, I grew up in this very conservative household, but I didn't want to... Right when you're that young, it's not cool to admit that. So I wouldn't ever tell my friends, like, I can't date or I can't be on social media. I would just say that I didn't want to be or whatever. Anyway, I think my friend came over and was like, oh, can you help me make a Facebook account too? And I was like... my mom's right there.
You're like Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yeah.
You're like with your secret Facebook account.
Yeah.
Wasn't it funny that people our age, like millennials, don't really use Facebook anymore?
Yeah, because...
It's been overtaken by Gen... What are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
Our parents, basically.
Yes.
It's so crazy. It's just like over like the span of a few years, like people in their 20s and 30s don't use it anymore. Then like... Bam, you have kids or grandkids and you love Facebook again. Well,
because people put photos up there, I think. That's like the main one of the main reasons people use it.
Yeah.
I deleted my Facebook years ago and have not looked back.
I still have mine. Both my parents always post when we post a new song, they share it and like they'll talk about our podcast and whatnot. I don't think many of their 50, 60-year-old friends are hyper interested in our podcast, but they all listen to our music, which is really nice. So sometimes I go on there and I'm like, oh, hey, thanks. Like to like my parents' friends who I've known since I was little. I was like, thanks for the compliment. And they love it. And it makes me feel good. So,
right.
But for the most part, I don't go on Facebook.
Right.
Ever.
I don't use Twitter. I've used Twitter very briefly in college, I guess. And then one time I recovered my password and logged back in and all of my tweets were like stupid. So I think I deleted them all and then I re-deleted the account. I think Twitter, where I see Twitter the most is people actually share their tweets on Instagram now, and it's quite often political. Yeah. And I like to know about politics, but I don't like it to consume me, especially in social media land. Yeah. So, I stay off of Twitter.
I just recently, like within the last year, maybe less, 6 months, started going on Twitter again, and I'm kind of understanding why I wasn't on it in the first place. I don't know. A lot of the time I'm not finding the joy in it, and I find myself browsing it less and less, because a lot of it's political and like social statements, right? Yeah. So I try to keep it in the things that make me happy.
Right.
But I mean, so what else is there, like, as a creator, how do you feel about, I don't know, having to post on Instagram and like keep your brand alive? Because I've tried to do it. You always tell me, you're like, oh, like if you go to your Instagram, you want people to see like, oh, you're a musician, right? And I'm like, okay. So I've started to take more videos of myself playing, even if I'm just messing around, and post them like at least every now and then. I'm really bad at it because I still can't comprehend fully, like, this is the only way for people to know who you are and ask you to give them lessons.
Right.
Right? I'm like, I know I have to present myself on there, but I don't really like to. And there's just this weird conflict. So I do it sometimes and not often enough for the algorithm.
So, I never even really finished my thought, but this is related. So when I think back to 2017, I was just making stuff for fun. And I feel like if you look at my earlier videos from that time, they were just a lot more fun because I think I brought like this levity in my personality to my social media presence. A lot of my, like, sometimes I would share things related to mental health, but a lot of my captions on Instagram, for example, were just like a stupid pun or a little update.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it didn't feel heavy. And I was meeting a lot of people through there. I've always been an introvert in real life, so it was nice to be connecting to people who cared about vegan food and about fitness too, because fitness was something I was posting a lot about at the time. And I hope to again soon. And same goes for YouTube. I think part of the reason my channel kind of took off at the time was because I was just kind of funny, which is weird because now I don't really identify as a funny person, but I feel like that's something that I lost. Like it wasn't something I tried to get rid of. It's something that I lost, and I didn't want to because it became my career. Yeah. And I'm actually trying to kind of undo all of the quote unquote progress that I've made and go back to making things that are less. I still want the production value to be there because beauty is always going to be a top value for me. I like making things that are pretty and well lit and that sound good. But as far as trying to craft this professional persona or to be more like a Food Network personality or like all of that just hadn't felt good, and I've felt like I need to be that in order for it to be my career, basically. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I don't think we've ever actually talked about that together, about kind of how your personality in your videos has changed.
Yeah.
Because, I started watching your videos in 2017, and then that's why I started talking to you. And I never noticed that, like, your personality's changed like that, and you became much more serious as you started to kind of, like, feel this resistance to being the YouTube personality.
I mean, anyone who's followed me on Sarah's Vegan Kitchen for like a couple years will know, like, occasionally I'll do like a mental health update, and I've been struggling with the same thing for years, and it's kind of absurd, but I mean, that's how human behavior works, I guess, is you wind up in these spirals, and you kind of sometimes have to reach, unfortunately, like a rock bottom before you can break free of it, which I think is kind of what's happened over the past year or even 6 months is I'm just so fed up with it and so exhausted from it that I know that if I continue like trying to scale my business in the same way that like other food bloggers that I admire have, like it just won't work for me. I'll get sick or I'll have a mental breakdown or something. So it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you want to talk at all about like we've kind of been devising a plan just for like both of our careers together and separate. Obviously, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. It's like it's the biggest part of our life in a way, right? I mean, do you want to talk about what your plan is?
I don't have a plan.
Okay.
I have to say that because I feel like I always announce plans and then it doesn't happen that way. And I've kind of at this point in my life given up making long-term plans. And my plan is to do what feels okay. There's two pieces to it. I think I've been spending a lot of time thinking more about play, about reconnecting with things you loved as a child, which we've talked about on the podcast. For me, that's art and music, but that it also extends to food because food for me is art, which is why I think I've struggled to try to be a recipe developer. Like there's nothing that makes me more mad than spending a full day and a bunch of ingredients trying to develop a recipe that is going to make sense to other people when I could have just improvised it and not measured and had like a perfect result.
It's hard because people, a large percentage of people who follow food YouTube channels and whatnot, like they want the recipe from the person. Yeah. You know, and there are some channels that just don't do that.
Yeah, which I need to be that channel.
Yeah. And it's hard because sometimes you're like, yeah, there's no recipe for this. People are like, hey, what's the recipe? And you're like, no. Remember I said there's no recipe for this? And they're like, yeah, but what's the recipe?
Well, do you know Lauren Toyota on Hot for Food? She has a series, or used to have a series. I don't think she's done it for a while. It's just called Recipe ? Where she just goes through her fridge and pantry and just makes something up on the spot with what she has. And she said she came up with the title for that series because she would get that question all the time on social media as people would be like, recipe?
Yeah. I love that, like, that fire in her personality.
Yeah.
Where it's just like that badass kind of like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She's just kind of
spicy.
A badass. Yeah.
She's hot for food. Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's so funny to talk about this, having been in this death spiral for years, because when I talk about it, it becomes very clear that I keep me here. You know, nobody else is, holding a gun to my head saying, upload one recipe per week on your blog. But like for me, I feel like I'm very motivated by fear. We talked about our different like socioeconomic backgrounds growing up in our episode. I think it's called the money episode. We'll link it down below, or you can just scroll back a little bit in our history. But I didn't grow up with like a lot. I wasn't in poverty, but I think I definitely had that scarcity mindset instilled in me. And I haven't outgrown it, So anytime I've ever witnessed somebody else in my field, like in the YouTube field, cooking field, being really successful, my mind is always like, oh, I need to do that. So when I see people who have 6-figure blogs, I'm like, oh, I should do that, because I don't even care about, like, I realized recently, like, I don't need 6 figures to live the lifestyle that I live, but I'm just, in my mind, I always feel like I need to like make a lot so that I can stop working and run away and live in the mountains and disappear. Like I need that. I feel like I need that freedom but I only feel like I need that freedom because I'm constantly feel like I'm going crazy and that it's unsustainable what I'm doing. So I'm like, wait, what if instead of trying to make a lot of money in like 5 years so that I can have the luxury of running away, I just make less money doing something that's totally sustainable for me.
Yeah. And like I've said on the podcast and to you, to you in our conversation. I think I do one Frasier voice every episode. But we've talked about this, and I always say, when you get to that point where you're like, you know what, this is what I do now, and this is how much I make, and it's maybe it's not the 6-figure blog thing, but like this is a comfortable life for me. I feel like as soon as you get to that point, you're going to be so full of like energy and creativity that you're going to do all these other things, and then you're going to be like, oh, I'm making 6 figures now, and I wasn't trying to, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna get to a higher. That would, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's gonna happen kind of by accident.
I mean, that's what all of the law of attraction people would have you believe, but I can't tell you guys that yet because I'm not there yet because I'm still trying to break through some weird karmic garbage here.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's funny, like if you listening feel like you are stuck in a similar spiral, it doesn't necessarily have to do with money, but it could have to do with career or even the types of relationships you keep attracting that just have you feeling the same way over and over again. I mean, at some point you have to realize that your beliefs are keeping you there. And it's weird because I go through phases where I like, what's the phrase? You get the cover blown off of something. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what's happening in my mind. This is why I'm doing the things I'm doing. This is why I'm showing up as a different person. And now my like fun, happy, carefree, creative personality, which I believe is true to me, is dead. And it's clear, to people who have followed me for a long time. Yeah. And it's like I don't show up on Instagram for a while. And then when I show up, I feel like I have to explain like, oh, I've been gone because I'm mentally ill. And it's like, well, I'm mentally ill because I'm in this spiral,
constant cycle of...
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild to talk about it.
Well, I know you were saying like you don't want to just like announce, this is my plan, right? Because, I mean, I've actually had this experience with my family. I may have talked about it, but I kept announcing like, I think we're going to move here. I think we're going to do this thing and this thing. And then it just changes because plans change. And then I have to keep explaining to them why I changed. And they're like, wait, what? I thought you were doing this. It's like kind of the same thing where I've kind of decided to like not tell them as much until it's more set in stone. So I get that. But something you have mentioned is doing like just like cookbook reviews and recipe.
Oh, yeah.
Like just cooking other people's recipes.
Yeah.
Because you love cooking other people's recipes so much more than like developing your own. Yeah. And by developing, I mean creating a dish and measuring everything and writing it out. You love cooking by feel. Yeah. And when you can't cook by feel and put out a recipe video because they're exact opposite things. So you've been talking about
like an instructional recipe video, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can definitely say, put in a splash of this, right?
A sploosh.
But if you're just cooking other people's recipes, you get to just be yourself and cook. And if anyone wants a recipe, you told them exactly where it is. So I just think that's such a great start for bringing that energy back.
Yeah, so I guess to bring this to a concrete place for anyone listening, I know not everyone who listens is necessarily, making videos on YouTube or has social media as part of your job. So after this part of the conversation, I do want to bring it back to a more everyday kind of place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think for both of us, we've been realizing that social media can be a really powerful tool to connect you with your right audience or community is the way I like to think about it. If you're being yourself. And I think one of the themes of this podcast is just that you can pretty much do anything you want and there's somebody there to receive it if you stick it out. I mean, we started watching this new... What's it called?
It's the show we watched
this morning.
Oh, it's called Making It?
Right.
I think it's called Making It.
So if you guys are familiar with Project Runway, which is designers make different outfits for a bunch of models for different themes. It's kind of similar to that, but it's just a general art project, and each week has a different theme. And a lot of the contestants have businesses already doing art, and one of the women specifically specializes in making balloon murals. She has a business making balloon murals. That's so specific.
Yeah.
And she has a thriving business, and she has a happy family, and she's, I don't know, it's insane. Like, who would have thought, like, as a child, I think I'm going to grow up and be a balloon mural artist.
Yeah, there's like an opening for like anything you can dream up.
Yeah.
You know?
But people can tell when you're not being authentic, I think, is the problem. Well, it's not the problem. It's actually a great blessing, but it feels like a problem when...
'Cause it feels like being unsuccessful.
Yes.
You know, but really it's more like, hey, we can tell you're not into this, so we're not going to be into it either.
Yeah.
But if you do something that you totally love, we'll be able to... It's like when people say, what's the special ingredient? Oh, love. I'm like, well, it's corny, but it's kind of true.
It is.
Right? Because you can tell when there's love in whatever you're making.
Yeah.
And when there's resentment. Thank you. I really blanked on that word. Yeah, you can tell when there's love or resentment in the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And on the we talk about expanders a lot, and so I think going on social media and finding accounts that actually make you feel good can sometimes be they can give you some options to try out or hats to try on. Not that everything is going to stick, but some options that can guide you towards developing your own authentic voice or stepping into it. So I've noticed that like reaction videos are really popular on YouTube right now. And Eric and I did some reaction videos to like K-pop, which were very successful, but we didn't really enjoy making them, or, you know, it wasn't fun.
We didn't enjoy pandering to the fans of the K-pop groups and refraining from saying anything mildly judgmental.
Right. And then I noticed that there's a lot of reaction videos to food. So there's like dietitians like Abby Sharp will react to other people's What I Eat in a Day videos, and she'll throw in some nutritional information. By the way, I really hate those types of videos because I don't know. I understand that for certain people they can be helpful, like if you're trying to figure out what a healthy diet looks like, but also what people eat on any given day isn't representative of the nutrition they're taking in over the course of a week or a month or a year. So anyway. So
do you want to, well, sorry, I'll say your last thing.
I was just going to say that making cookbook reviews is kind of like my version of the reaction video, but it involves me making a lot of stuff, which is like my thing. I'm like, I like to make stuff. That's it.
I mean, a lot of stuff you've been making recently, like just for us and your family, has been other people's recipes.
Right. Yeah.
And you've been having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you tinker them.
Well, it's just
tinker with them.
Well, it's just crazy because I found that in my stint trying to be specifically a recipe developer, because there is a great potential to make money on blogs if you have your ads enabled, which by the way, I fucking hate ads on blogs. There's times when I wanted to go on to view a recipe and a full page ad pops up and I can't figure out how to get out of it, so I leave and I go to another blog.
Yeah, especially on mobile, if a blog's not optimized for mobile.
Yeah.
Ads sometimes, like you'll get two ads next to each other that, because they're not optimized for mobile, will take over your entire screen.
Yeah.
And you can't see the X button because it's not built to be the size of an iPhone.
Yeah.
So you just say, okay, I'll try a different one that doesn't have ads.
And then I was getting this ad served to me for the longest time. It was so disgusting. Remember I showed you? I don't even know what it was, but there's these ads that are kind of like clickbaity. I think they're like images that are intentionally gross, or it's unclear what they are, so that you click on it and you find out what it is. But it looked like, I don't know, like if you have what's that condition where you're afraid of holes?
Trypophobia?
Trypophobia?
Something like that.
Trypophobia?
Yeah.
Whoa. That was hardcore triggering me. And I was like, how do I get this ad to stop showing up?
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, well, we'll get into ads and more. I want to take a break and thank the people we thank. And then we'll get into, like you said, the more personal use side of social media, because we've been talking a lot about doing it from a content creator's perspective, right? So let's take a quick break and do our supporter shout out. Hi guys, we're pausing this conversation for a few moments to give a big thank you to our supporters. These are our listeners who make a monthly contribution through Anchor, which is our hosting platform. If you'd like to become a supporter as well, you can visit anchor.fm/whatislifedude and click on the support button.
And if you enjoy the show, another great way to support us is by giving us a positive rating and a review on iTunes. Just takes a few moments and it helps new listeners find the podcast so we can continue to grow our community. So thank you so much to everyone who supports us in one way or another. This podcast wouldn't exist without you guys.
So without further ado, shout out to our anchor supporters, Inga Pfeiffer, Morgan Lassiter, Jennifer, Scotty Draper, Glenn Ames, Kevin Dooley, Jessica Chelgren, Marie Zimmerman, Nina Schmidt, Izzy, Alexis Dooley, Annalise, Nadia, Teresa Madara, Kelsey Pritchett, Ellis Adler, Anna Dureka, Megan Stewart, Samantha McIntyre, Dylan Schaubin, and Sarah Creighton. And now back to the show. Okay, we are back. Let's talk about social media from the non-content creator, just the consumer of social media. I mean, let's start with ads because we were kind of talking about that right before the break, right?
Yeah.
The thing with ads, I don't know if people, like, how often do you think people want to put ads all over their blogs and videos? Like,
nobody wants to.
I mean, because I know people take sponsorships for things they care about and products they like, right?
I would argue, though, that is the minority
That's rare.
of cases, unfortunately.
And then when it comes to, like, enabling ads on your YouTube videos or on your blog, you don't have any say in what it is. It could be anything, right?
It's based tailored to the viewer,
reader.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, no one, and this is a huge problem with social media, is that no one wants it to be this way. No, but it is.
Yes.
And it's just, it's not good.
Right. It's like that weird situation you're in where you know that something is extremely wrong, but you have to keep playing into it because there's no alternative yet. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to go out and program up another social media platform like Instagram just so I can be free of ads. Like, I don't have that qualification, and they have so much influence. Like, sometimes you need an Instagram account to create an account with another app or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's all connected to your Google account. Yeah. Like, there's been apps that I've downloaded that they require you to use a Google account to log in rather than just a regular creating a separate account, like a username. Yeah. It's insane. It's all connected, and they know your purchasing habits, and they know what you are interested in. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't judge anyone for running ads on their platforms or for, like, small businesses who are purchasing up ad space on Instagram. I totally get it. But I get it because that's what you have to do to break through the noise, because Instagram has deliberately altered their algorithm to make it harder to succeed as a small business or smaller influencer without purchasing ad space.
Yeah, I mean, we're not hating on any creator that does this, right? We're hating on the system that causes it and that forces everyone into it, right? I mean, like, with the tailored ads, the other day Sarah was cooking something and she was like, "Oh, will you just open my phone and, like, read me something from the recipe?" And I was like, "Sure." So I grabbed her phone, typed in her code, opened it, and in the middle of the recipe blog, there was an ad for these, like, studio monitor clamps. You can see the studio monitors behind me on my desk. I want to buy, like, these, like, stands for them that clamp onto my desk. And I've been looking at them on my computer. And I opened up Sarah's phone, and there was an ad for them. And
I don't know. I can't even explain how that has happened.
Yeah, I can't either. We have separate Google accounts. Like, do you think, like, your sister and your mom get ads for this? It's like the Wi-Fi or something? I have no idea what's happening.
Who knows?
It's scary. And I don't know. I want to pivot this to how I personally, well, and you, but how we make our social media experience a more positive, loving, helpful place. You know? Because that's something I have started to do over the last half a year or something. And it's really, really changed my brain, I think, for the better. So the first thing I did was I think everyone probably goes through these, like, unfollowing, I don't even know what to call them.
Sprees.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, where you just go on and you're like, you know what? It's kind of like the same things when you go through your email and unsubscribe to all the all the ads you get, like, every day, and you're like, you just delete them every day. And sometimes
I
you're
don't.
like,
I just ignore them until they reach a critical mass, and then I have a little crying spell on the floor.
right. Some people, if you're like me, you're like, I get this ad from this random company every single Monday, and I just unsubscribe. So it's kind of, you're just purging, right? And it took me a while I would go on Instagram and I would unfollow like 10 people at a time or whatever. But recently I went from following like 600 people, 600 accounts to like just over 200. I just went on over the course of a few days and just like unfollowed every celebrity and every celebrity, every company, and every person that I kept seeing their stuff and thinking, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just seeing it. And it took me until a very specific day to say, I'm going to think about what I'm following, right? It's really easy with companies and really easy with celebrities. But when it comes to the people that you know in real life, you know, I worked at a company for over 3 years, and I met a lot of people that were there at the beginning and left just throughout. A lot of people worked there, and I met them. And then I was like, I haven't worked at this company for 6 months. I'm still following all these people I don't talk to. And I just unfollowed a lot of them. And like, it's fine because I know them in real life, but we're not really friends. And they're like, oh, like, here are videos of my child and my husband. And I'm like, I don't know these people. But I feel like there's some societal, like, it's like manners. You know what I mean? It's like this respect thing where it's like, oh, it would be rude to unfollow them because I know them.
Okay, well, without naming names here, a couple of years back before I moved in with Eric was like out to dinner with a childhood friend, and his childhood friend noted that I was not following his girlfriend, but his girlfriend was following me. And then Eric was like, can you go follow her, please? Yeah. And I was like,
why?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like there's definitely a piece of social media that's very there's an etiquette on there.
And I decided to say fuck the etiquette because I wanted to clean up my feed in a way that made me feel better about using the platform.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, there have been times where I'd get a message from someone or like a text, be like, hey, you know, it's whoever, like, oh, I thought of you because of this. Like, oh, do you see this on my Instagram? And I'm like, I actually don't follow you anymore, but I'll go follow you now. And like, I feel like it just sounds kind of rude, but like for me, I'm totally okay with saying, you know what?
I unfollowed you.
Yeah, I unfollowed you because we weren't in touch. And, you know, you're posting about all your new friends and I don't know any of them and it just didn't make sense to me. But now that we're talking again, I'll follow you again and whatever.
Right.
Like, to me, that just seems totally okay.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then when it comes to like celebrities, there are a few things happening with the celebrity accounts I follow. And I only follow a handful of them now, but
can I just say first that Eric is a hardcore researcher. So he just knows a lot about celebrities. There's like random celebrities. As in every time we watch a film or a TV show, Eric is right on his phone figuring out everything about the celebrity. So
yes, I do that. Like, it's so bad with cartoons.
Or he'll be looking up the voice actor.
Whose voice is that? And I'm like, oh, it's this person from this film. And Sarah's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I've noticed a few things happen with following celebrities for me. Are you cold?
I had a chill.
And it's just like some of them, I just don't care about them anymore. I'm like, okay, unfollowed. Other people, like, their platforms are just about like a certain topic or a thing they believe in and not really like about them. And I totally appreciate people standing up for the things they believe in and like that being like using their platform as their voice. But sometimes it's just a lot and there's not enough about the person. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to unfollow you now. And then sometimes I realize that every time I look at someone's story or posts, I get like this and I'll use the word subconscious because it took me a long time to realize it, like this jealousy.
Oh, yeah.
And this like, oh, I motherfucker with his cars.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my, at some point I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do that every time I open my phone.
Yeah.
Like every time I open my phone and I see David Dobrik with his fucking mansion, I still follow him. He's not one of those people because he doesn't bother me for some reason.
Right.
I'm just like, cool, man. You started making YouTube videos and now you're rich.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just felt like this disgusting jealousy, negativity thing.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to get rid of that.
I mean, like, I was following the Kardashians and or Kendall and Kylie Jenner for a while. And I don't know. Like, I don't even follow them really in any other capacity.
Yeah.
Although I will say Kylie Jenner's videos with baking with her daughter are very cute on YouTube. And you should definitely watch them.
You've shown me some of those.
But like, I ended up, I think I follow maybe just a handful of celebrities. But I don't know. It is very interesting to notice that sometimes people have really nice lives or something that you envy, but it makes you feel driven. It's like, oh yeah, I can accomplish that too. That's a successful businesswoman, or that's an artist. And like, that just reminds me that I can do it too. And then sometimes it makes you feel bad, you know, but it is important to be aware of what reaction you're having.
Yeah, and it could be anything. Like, I don't know, there are probably some people who I follow that it sounds so trivial and inconsequential, but like there have been people who just like cook a lot of meat and like document like their dinners with a lot of meat. And I'm vegan and I don't care about meat.
Right.
And I'm like, I just feel obligated to follow them because I like them. But it's like, you really just got to look at yourself sometimes and be like, it's okay to not follow every person like you like or care about or whatever. Because if you always see their content and it just makes you feel bad for something like a serious issue, like a serious thing, or something that's kind of trivial, like it's okay. Like you can make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
You know? So
I think, back on the topic of celebrities, I think two of the celebrities I follow, one of them is Halsey, because I just like how human she seems in her, like some celebrities, a lot of their tiles on their feed are just promo, a lot of text, a lot of flyers. Halsey's are just little photo dumps quite often. And I've always really I like her music. I like that she has a poetry book too. So she kind of just reminds me that you can be a celebrity but be grounded and just, I don't know, she seems cool.
she seems like a normal person.
Also, I follow, I don't know if it's pronounced Lauv or Lauv, but he's another musician. And I don't really even listen to his music that much. Like I know a couple of his singles, but his posts on Instagram are just so stupid.
They make you feel good.
And I'm like, oh, you're a human kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're just so ridiculous that I like them.
Like, I still follow Charlie Puth. And, like, I only like a handful of his songs. I couldn't tell you the last time I listened to a Charlie Puth song.
Yeah.
But, like, he's a great musician. And, like, he's very, very famous. And it's cool to see, like, a really accomplished, like, jazz musician.
Right.
And a pop star.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just posts, like, tasty licks on piano and stuff. And I'm like, sick. Okay.
Right.
And he also posts pictures of, like, his mansion and his big pool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me because he also posts content that I really like. And it's just, like I said, I just really had to look at everything and say, does this make me feel good or does this make me feel bad? And without any shred of shame, I unfollowed all the things that made me feel bad.
Yeah.
Politics, people's lifestyles, people I don't know. Sorry.
I took that one step further and I created a second account. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I've created a second account where I could kind of escape again from that need to be following people out of propriety. You know, like I follow a lot of bloggers that I've spoken to, a lot of vegan people that it just seems right to be following on my main account.
Because you're supposed to be friends with them.
Yeah, so I created this other separate account that, I mean, now I'm realizing that I think some people might have been getting recommended this account just because everything's connected, which is really annoying. So somehow, despite having not having posted anything there, I have some followers.
You have like 14 followers, right?
Yeah. And I might make it public or I might like start posting on there at some point, but I just wanted a space where I could only follow people who care about the shit I care about. I follow astrology accounts, human design accounts, some herbalism stuff, some witchy stuff, some artists, some musicians. That's it. There's no, I mean, I follow some vegan creators on there, but it's more like not the recipe developers.
I don't think she even follows me.
Me? No, I don't.
Yeah, which is fine.
I'll follow you. Don't worry.
Will you follow me into the dark?
Yeah.
It's funny because you said I took it one step further by making this secondary account.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not. It's not one step further. It's like the non-confrontational route, right? Because it's like, oh look, I'm Sarah. I still follow all of you. Ha 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 ha. But really, you're just not looking at that feed. You're just looking at a different feed.
I do look at. Well, I don't look at my feed really. But I have been answering DMs on my original account a lot more, which for a long time when I was having a lot of anxiety about my work, I just could not, I couldn't I couldn't do it. Like for a while there, I had disabled like respond to stories. So
I remember that.
Yeah.
That phase.
But lately I've been trying to be on top of it and I want to get even better at it because I'm just keep remembering that like I met you through DMs and if I had just accidentally repeatedly forgotten or not missed your DMs, you know, then we wouldn't be here, you know? So I'm trying to have an eye open to people who actually could be my friend. Do you know what I mean? So that's good. But I do have a space where I can just completely zone out and follow like weird stuff. And if I do start posting on this, it's going to be my weird esoteric stuff. And nobody's going to follow me for one thing and then give me shit when I start posting about astrology. You know what I mean? Which is like one time I think I posted a picture of, it was either a crystal or a tarot card or something on my main account. And somebody wrote me the longest DM about how it's like satanic and she just followed me for food and I needed to reconsider, you know, like all of that.
See, I've never sent a DM like that. I would just unfollow.
Me too.
But I feel like that's the more normal approach. And some people just feel the need to really express their opinion on everything.
Right. It's not like I'm ashamed of all these like interests that I have, but I would rather move them to a different account where it's not just to avoid criticism. It's more like I want people to talk to me about these things. So I want people to follow me who are going to talk to me. Like if I post like a tarot card reading, you know, or if I pull a card, somebody's like, oh my God, I needed this today, or I needed this reminder, or I pulled this too, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like I said, I don't post that often, but I've been trying to post more about music. Yeah. But a lot of the people who follow me are my friends, family, and people who follow both of us, right? People, you guys listening to the podcast. So I don't get that much feedback on my music stuff because I don't have like musicians that follow me really. But it's a lot different for me because I only started being like mildly in the public eye on social media, like at some point during our relationship. I had like 500 followers before we started dating, and now I have like over 2,000, which isn't a lot, but it's still enough where I don't know most of the people that follow me. So it's been a very new experience for me. Right. But you know, it hasn't been anything really of note. Yeah. But something I did want to mention, to go back to my social media purge, my many purges of my Instagram, I've noticed it really helps me spend less time on Instagram because every time I open my phone and go on Instagram, there's nothing new because I don't follow that many people anymore. So usually I would just be mindlessly scrolling like sports accounts, like random celebrities, random people I don't talk to anymore, and I would just be like, But now I open my phone and there's like one person posts things every 4 hours. Yeah. So in the morning, there's like a whole feed of stuff. But even in the morning, I run out. So it's like, I don't spend that much time on Instagram anymore because there's nothing to look at. Yeah. It's great. I just put my phone away.
Yeah. Same goes for my like secret account. It's a lot of infographics. So I feel like not only am I learning a lot, but I'm following so few accounts that I actually get to the bottom of the feed. Yeah. Whereas, you know what, on my main account, there was a phase where I was just following a lot of fitness accounts and just feeling not great because Fitstagram there's a lot of women who are stereotypical hot girls. And it just made me feel worse about myself. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I don't really post that kind of content either. I don't do like progress, 3 months lifting progress or those types of things. And I think I deleted a lot of them that I did have on or archived them because I just didn't want to enable the comparison. So, and I noticed like a lot of those accounts also just, I don't know, I want to strike the right balance as a creator or as anyone who posts on Instagram specifically, the right balance between being personal but being like helpful and uplifting. And I just don't want to sell things anymore. And I don't know, it's weird trying to find that balance between being authentic but not putting everything out there. So I value the authenticity, and I find it hard to connect with accounts where they're just posting selfies all the time, not sharing anything useful, or they're just trying to sell you pre-workout or something. I don't know.
I've also found that another thing that really works for me is following people just for like a short amount of time, just for like a period of my life. Like we watched one season of Love Island. The American version of Love Island. We watched American Love Island season 2. So I followed like there were a lot of episodes because I guess that show's on like every night for however long it's on. So there were like 30 episodes. And I went on Instagram and I followed like all the contestants that I liked more than the other ones. And then when the show ended, when we finished watching it, I just unfollowed all of them.
I did that too.
And it's fine. It's like, I'm watching them on TV and I'm like following them in real life now. And then at some point I was just like, I finished the season and my interest has kind of dwindled.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. This conversation is making me feel great.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I just feel so much better about social media than I used to. Like even like a year ago. And I just feel like it's helped me so much. And I feel like talking about it might be helping people who listen.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's why we do the podcast.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I like it.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything that comes to mind?
I feel like there was another thing we talked about the other day when we were preparing for this. Actually, the conversation that Eric and I had before we decided this should be the topic. We watched a film called The 40-Year-Old Version, which is, how do you describe it?
It's a film based on a true story of the woman who...
I was wondering if it was a true story.
Yeah, I think it's like loosely based on her life. I'm not sure I'm not sure how much of it is true. But the woman who stars in it also wrote it. It's this black and white film about this 40-year-old woman who's a playwright, and she like teaches theater to kids. Right. And she's like trying to get a play like picked up on Broadway.
Right. She like kind of was really well recognized when she was younger, but then kind of failed to produce for like a decade after that.
Yeah.
And is poor and just...
So she gets this idea to become a rapper.
Yeah.
And she starts rapping about what it's like to be 40. And it's just, it's like a very moving film, even though it's kind of, I don't know, you know how some dramatic films there's like it's like huge drama. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like very intense drama, but it's just very real. And that's what makes it intense.
Right.
It's like, it's very clearly about this woman's life.
Yeah, it was a really good film. Yeah. I recommend it. I don't like films very much. I have a short attention span, but I really liked it. It's one of the few that we were able to watch in one day.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because it's like 2 hours long and we watched the first half and then we took a little break. I was like, what do you want to do? And Sarah was like, oh, don't you want to finish the movie? And I'm like, yeah, we can finish it tomorrow though. And Sarah was like, but don't you want to finish the movie? Which never happens. Sarah's always like, yeah, I don't care about movies.
Yeah.
But you actually really, I think, just like I said, because it was so real. I love it.
I mean, the entire, like the conflict in the story is involving the fact that she has this play on a topic that I guess is pretty personal to her. But as soon as she kind of takes on, she starts working with a producer, or what is he?
I think he's a producer.
who can help her fund her play, she starts losing control of it and it becomes this thing that isn't hers, and she's really not proud of it on opening night.
Well, the film's also interesting because it has a lot to do with the fact that she's black and her experience as a black woman, and like working with these producers and directors who are white and trying to dictate how the black experience should look in her art.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't do that.
Right. I mean, she specifically requests to work with a black director, and then they're like, yeah, we promise. And then they give her a white director. White and I mean, it's like used as a point of humor or comedy in the film, because it's like so ridiculous how these white people are trying to kind of impose their preconceptions about black culture on what she's created. But yeah, she just ends up really not liking it. So
yeah, she just like loses any hold of her art.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I not remember how we got into the conversation about social media, but it happened while we were discussing. We were like each talking about. Do you remember?
I'm struggling finding
we launched into this
spark.
long ass conversation about social media, and
was it not just based on like losing control of your art because doing what?
Yeah,
like making things that other people want to see, even though it's not right. Just because it's like what you were talking about with YouTube. It's like people want to see this, and I know I can make more money and grow my channel doing this, but I don't really want to. Is that part of it?
Yeah, I guess so. And then it also, I like the film so much because it really, sometimes I really need to be connected to art instead of like forms of information like on YouTube and podcasts to get back in touch with art for myself. You know what I mean? Like it just hits different. So, so it's different. I was like, oh my God, like there's really no time at which you say, oh, it's over for me as an artist. Like you can be 40, you can be older and still be finding your voice and fighting to express it in an authentic way, in a way that you can really be proud of. And I was thinking about basically the difference between posting on social media as yourself versus creating music or art as yourself, and how it's like two different things, and how I feel like the fact that I haven't been making art as much is part of the reason why my social media feels so imbalanced and it feels very heavy to me, is because I've needed this outlet for some dark stuff that goes through my mind, but it's not really always the appropriate forum for it to go onto Instagram and be like, I'm really sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and you're trying to get back in touch with making art.
Yeah.
In which you can express all those thoughts.
Yeah.
So you can keep your social media on a more
I want to get back.
Whatever.
Yeah, I want to get back to that loud level ridiculousness because that's definitely a part of my personality. But it's like not creating an outlet for the heavier parts of it. You know, I mean, it has to come out somewhere.
It's like we talk about Phoebe Bridgers and how her music's like so dark and sad, and she writes sad girl music, right?
Yeah.
But like you see her in interviews and she's like, oh, what's up? I'm Phoebe Bridgers from California.
Yeah, very like golden retriever energy. She's like, yeah, you know, I don't know. It was funny. I wasn't expecting that because I thought she would have like kind of a dark, brooding personality and be super intense. But she's just, Yeah, because she gets all that out in the art, and so people can see both sides of her personality. I started laughing a little when we were talking about the movie because in the movie, like the first time this woman tries, Rada, the character, she tries to rap, and she's just rapping about being 40. She says something like, "Why my fucking legs hurt all the time?" Just like she's like rapping about all these things that happen to you as you get older. Yeah. And it was so goddamn funny. And I can't remember any of the specifics. I just made that up as like kind of a, yeah, you should go watch it. It's on Netflix. Yeah. Before we wrap up, can I just like give another like random rant that's kind of unrelated to what we were just talking about, but it was still about social media because we had it we talked about it in the conversation that I just brought up. But it's about people. It's like social media is this place where you can go and make friends, but also not everyone who follows you is your friend or wants the best for you. And sometimes they just want in your business is what I've noticed. So like I follow this one creator who, I mean, a lot of people, you know, it's normal, gained a little bit of weight during the pandemic because we've all been indoors. Like
Me
I did
included.
too. Yeah. And she was like, people have been asking me if I'm pregnant. Like, can you just not fucking ask people you don't know if they're pregnant? Because first off, you don't need to know if I'm pregnant. And if I'm not, which I'm not, like, it's fucking rude. And then, it's just crazy to me. I mean, luckily my skin is doing pretty okay right now. But in all the circumstances where my skin has been really, really bad, I would always get comments about my skin, like more than the actual content of my videos or what I'm posting about. And then people are like, oh, don't use filters. It's really deceptive and damaging. But it's like, I have to use a filter because otherwise I'm not going to hear anything about anything except for my skin. Mm-hmm. And then another person that I follow did like a Q&A, an Instagram story Q&A. And someone was like, oh, I hate to be that person, but did you and such break up? And this person, this influencer responded like, listen, you don't personally know me or my ex-boyfriend. Yeah. So stop asking people these kinds of questions. Yeah. Like just stop. Like you don't have any sort of personal stake in it.
Yeah. And that's like the line between being like, oh, I'm an influencer and this is like my life.
Yeah.
But then there's like okay, well, this is like my insider look in my life, right? And people need that insider look on, like yes, we follow people because they have big houses and 7, Lamborghinis, but also we like them also because they talk about their personal life.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like...
I just can't relate to being that person who'd be like, are you pregnant?
Oh my God. I can't even, like... It's like such a little thing that gets lost in the topic of like male privilege. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever heard it brought up, but like we will never be asked if we're pregnant. They'll be just like, oh, you got fat, bro. And for the most part, men, even if they're just suppressing it, are like, haha, yeah.
Or sometimes like people will try to cloak it in like concern for you. Like if you gain a little bit of weight or you lose a little bit of weight or your skin's bad, like I'm just really worried about you and I hope that you're doing okay. Yeah. I'm like, you don't care.
You just like drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, on that topic, we're like social media friends with Brian Turner, who's like a vegan bodybuilder and YouTuber, Instagram guy. Good guy, but he used to have really bad acne and he's kind of like a spokesperson for like fixing your skin. Mm-hmm. And he posted, someone gave him a comment like on an old picture of him when his acne was flared up. And they were like, gross. I'm so glad I never had acne. And he screenshotted it, didn't blur out their name, which I really loved because if you're going to post hate comments on something, you can get it reposted, right? You already posted it online. And I just responded to him. I'm like, man, like, I don't know who, sometimes people are just, they're not trying to be mean. They're just saying things. They don't realize how it comes off maybe. But I'm like, damn, like, don't do that. It's just so mean. And like, man, yeah.
I mean, it's insane. It's like you see both opposite extremes on social media for like this capacity for the best of humans and the worst of humans. Yep. And I mean, I don't know.
It's the internet as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, the internet is the most amazing thing we've ever built as a human race. Yet, a lot of the time, it's used for bad. Like bad things just happen on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's bad. It's just incredible because it's such an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Well...
What humans do.
It's hard to win, right? You have to have a healthy relationship with social media. You have to know who you are basically, because no one will ever be happy with you, right? Like, especially given the events of the past year, my DMs from strangers, they run the gamut from you should be more politically
active,
like vocal, or like, can you just keep politics out of this, right? I don't know. It
can't please everybody,
right? Yeah. It helps to remind yourself that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I would hope that those people who just have something to say about what they don't like about the content you provide for free, that I would hope somehow they hear the advice I gave in this episode, which is unfollow people that don't make you happy. Yeah. And if I'm that person where you post, oh, there he goes, he's talking about, I don't know.
6 foot masking.
Yeah, if Eric's posting a stupid meme again, or he's like doing a beer review of this beer he tried for the first time and it pisses you off for some reason, that's totally fine. You can unfollow me, and I hope it makes your life better.
Yeah.
So that's my policy.
You want to end this on unfollowing you, or do you want to bring it around to something positive?
You should follow me if you don't follow me, because I do have a great presence. I post once a month. But yeah, the conversation as a whole just made me feel good, because I don't know, I feel kind of proud of myself for cleaning it up and making it something I want to look at instead of something that just sucks the energy out of me. Yeah.
I guess the TLDR is, well, TLDL, too long didn't listen. Is just don't go on accounts or use platforms that make you feel bad. Like TikTok, anytime I've had it downloaded, too much time goes by and then I feel like shit. So I deleted it. Simple as that. I don't create content on TikTok either, because I tried to make one thing and it really frustrated me, and I didn't feel like it was actually helpful, because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna have success posting to a new platform that you don't really want to be posting to, and you're only posting to because someone on Instagram told you could build your brand by posting on the platform.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's like, ooh, I get to post on another place, hell yeah. Then download TikTok and post on it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the answer.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this conversation helped you in some way, made you feel a certain way. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.